Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We've been talking about all morning. If you're just tuning in, saluting those that beat the heat. We're not talking about people that work inside that have a great time. We're talking about people that are going to be facing the heat as they do when it gets colder as well. The heat going to be in the triple digits again and again and again. And I'll tell you, I don't know how folks do it, whether you're framing a house, whether you're building a road, whether you're doing something else. People, dude, are you kidding? People that are in the heat are tough, and we certainly appreciate them. Big news tonight here at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Who will the president pick to be on the Supreme Court? We'll have that for you coming up as well. We're waiting on Lars Larson. If not, we'll just move on, and we're just going to move on then. Let's just move on. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Big Supreme Court pick tonight. We've got Brett Kavanaugh. We've got Raymond Kethridge. We've got Amy Coney Barrett. We've got Thomas Hardiman. And when we're looking at Barrett, she seems to be the most conservative pick of them all. And you have to wonder how the president's going to play this. No one seems to know when what the president is going to do or how he's going to do it. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of this administration. And do you buy, because I don't buy it, I don't buy that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. I don't buy that the precedent is going to be totally thrown out. But you see people, whether they're working for Planned Parenthood, whether they're working for something else, this is a big deal to them because it's game over. For how many years have liberals gone to the court? For how many years have we heard, well, that's just how the court decides? Now the president tonight will make his decision, and we shall see how it plays out and the impact that it will have on all of us. Is perhaps life-changing, maybe not. Perhaps something that will be of significance. I hope that we're not seeing David Souter. I hope that we're not seeing everybody else. I hope that we're not going to be disappointed. But, again, time will tell, right? So that's one topic of conversation. And then something else that I want to thank our friend Greg Pruitt for bringing this up to me. You've got a state representative, Priscilla Giddings, an A-10 pilot, a wife, soon-to-be mom, made an innocuous post on social media. And then you had people covering the story and saying, how dare she do this? And there's an article in townhall.com about it, that she's been receiving threats. And essentially what she was doing was posing with a bunch of kids talking about their protests. And the protesting was over the GOP being in Pocatello, right? And so she basically innocuously said, look, hey, I'd like to show these kids my 30-millimeter shells that she fires, I would assume, from the A-10, right? Which isn't a bad deal. And then you have people collectively around the area just going crazy. You have media people, other people condemning her. And I'm thinking, for what? The A-10 is the cost of freedom. And we were talking about an article that we had where Donald Trump's speech was up. And people were going, well, this is horrible. This is horrific. And I'm thinking, do you really listen to the radio station that this is the Facebook page? Well, probably not. And yet you have people that condemn people just for airing their opinions. I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. And the left is so quick to condemn. And anyone who has been a member of the media, anyone who has jumped out into the foray, you get the criticism. And you even have Chelsea Clinton going after this representative. And here's what she said on social media. Idaho State students peacefully protesting our Republican convention. Do you think I should show these girls the empty 30-millimeter shells I have in the truck? Wow. And for that, Chelsea Clinton and others going after her. For what? Freedom of speech is not allowed if you're a conservative? Yes, sadly, there are people that want to take away our freedoms. And we'll have more on that with our friend Greg Pruitt coming up at the bottom of the hour. But let's get back to the Supreme Court. It's going to be a big deal tonight. Let's take a listen at KIDO Talk Radio.
President Trump says he will make his final decision on who will replace Justice Anthony Kennedy by noon Monday. The official announcement will take place at 9 p.m. Monday when the president introduces his nominee to the nation from the East Room at the White House. Advocates on both sides of the political spectrum promise to demonstrate for and against the president's nominee. Judicial Crisis Network plans to spend more than $2.4 million buying advertising on cable, broadcast TV, and digital advertising, where the pro-choice group NARAL plans to hold a demonstration at 8 p.m. Monday night against the president's nominee. That demonstration will be held on the steps of the Supreme Court. In Washington, D.C., Adam Shapiro, Fox News.
KIDO Talk Radio. You know, it's amazing that that's what we're going to do. Everything's a protest. Everything is the faux outrage. Look, if this had happened under Obama, they would pick it. We had, Ruth Bader Ginsburg under Clinton. You had Kagan. You had Sotomayor, who should have been disqualified for her statements, and yet she was put in. So you're going to have these four conservatives, Kavanaugh, Kethledge, Barrett, Hardiman. Now, we don't know them from Adam and who really is a Supreme Court expert. And I think that's why a lot of people just check out, literally check out of politics, because they're tired of everything is a mess. Everything is a fight. That's not the way we get along when we work together, when we live together, right? And yet here is the battle of all battles until the next battle of all battles, right?
I'm getting very close to making a final decision. Not yet. And I believe this person will do a great job, but I'm very close to making a decision. Have not made it official yet, obviously.
This next nominee will be the swing vote to overturn Roe v. Wade, and equally important, to eviscerate the protections for millions of Americans who suffer from pre-existing conditions and other health care rights, along with workers' rights, gay rights, voting rights.
I can't predict how all of my 49 or 48 colleagues in the Senate on the Democratic side will vote. I will tell you, though, simple math tells you if John McCain is absent, it's a 50-49 Senate. One Republican senator can decide the fate of any Supreme Court nominee.
I've never seen a president of the United States, in effect, make himself a puppet of outside groups and choose from a group of right-wing fringe ideologues.
Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So the left is going to throw the entire House at the Trump administration. And unlike previous Republican administrations, I think the president likes it. And people always accuse the president of, well, you know, he's going to get us all riled up. The president shrewdly will take a look at this and say, maybe it gets everybody's their mind off North Korea. Maybe it gets their mind off everything else, right? So that's one issue. Another issue here is an old-time favorite. I was debating with the sweet prince of the Treasure Valley, our friend Tea Party Bob, about marijuana and the idea of legalizing marijuana and whether or not it would be good or bad, and that's medical marijuana. And I said, this is just a great topic for us. So here you're going to love this case. Only in, well, I guess you'd say in Indiana, a marijuana-focused church loses their bid to make pot a sacrament. Here's our own Ken Duffy on KIDO Talk Radio.
The First Church of Cannabis worked for years to try and argue in the courts that marijuana should be protected under the state's Religious Freedom Restoration Act. But the Indianapolis Star reporting a Marion County judge tossed out the lawsuit, saying a love for pot does not qualify as practicing a religion. Justice Cheryl Lynch saying she's concerned about allowing exemptions like this for illegal marijuana, saying it'll impact society negatively. The group argues that the government does not have the right to choose which beliefs should be protected. Ken Duffy, Fox News.
Thank you, Ken. So how crazy is it where you have one church wanting pot to be a sacrament? Pot is a lot of things. It's used for medical purposes in some places. It's used to get you high in most places. People put it in their food. People put it in their wine. People put it everywhere as they continue to try and circumvent the good federal law that prohibits marijuana. And whether you like the state of Idaho or not, whether you agree with the decisions of the current governor and the soon-to-be governor, the lieutenant governor, being anti-pot is a good thing in the state of Idaho. Otherwise, you get crazy, wacky people like this. No one has solved the mystery when it comes to marijuana, that if you just let a little in, and look, I'm not disagreeing that I've had friends, family members, and others that will espouse the benefits of medical marijuana. But how in the world do you make sure, in this world of doctor shopping, in this world where we're not giving you painkillers anymore because of the opioid addiction, that you're not going to have the abuses that you see popularized in movies or in real life in the state of California, Oregon, and Washington? Look, if you go to the Oregon coast, and what do you see? Pot shops everywhere. You can go look at the sea lions and toke a joint. Isn't that fun? Isn't that great while you're there with your kids or your grandkids and you have smelly dope smoker next to you stinking up the entire dock? That's one issue. You have parks in Colorado that have been turned into pot parks that simply smell because marijuana smells. You stink when you use marijuana. And now you have people trying to make pot a sacrament. Talk about misplaced religious direction. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, it really comes down to this. How do you keep the medical and the recreational separate? If that were possible, if that were likely to happen here in the Gem State. That's the big issue, right? That's the big issue here in Idaho. And we'll see that in the legislative agenda again and again and again. And that's the funny thing where we think, I don't think we can have a handle on alcohol. Why open up Pandora's box? Oh, Kevin Miller, you're being a spoil sport. Am I? Let's talk about it next. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. All right. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Coming up, we'll hear from our friend Greg Pruitt. Will join us at 8:35 with more information concerning Representative Giddings and the First Amendment. Back to this issue involving pot, though. When you're on vacation, you're having a good time. Is this something that a lot of people look forward to? And I have many people say that, look, Kevin Miller, you just don't get it. It's just how it is. It's free this, free that. It's something that was legal at one time, and then now it hasn't been, and it's just not fair that we have people that want to do something. Pot is harmless. I don't believe it is. Study after study have shown that it is, something that we take a look at, and it is a gateway drug to a lot of things. You have people that have, been on the drugs, that have had problems with drugs, and say, look, marijuana was their first issue. That's one thing. Number two, this is something a little different. This is something we spoke about with Dave Petzo. And it comes down to the area that you live in. And this is the area of our jurisdiction, Treasure Valley. And at the Treasure Valley, and when we look at how it's changed in the last 3 to 5 years, and people moving in They're happy to leave California. They're happy to leave Oregon. They're happy to leave Washington. Or maybe they're coming east of the Great River and they see this freedom. But when we look at the prices of homes going up, and our friend Dave Petzel says that's a good thing, that's great. You can make a lot of money if you sell your home. The problem is when you sell your home, then you're going to have to buy another home to live in. And for me, and maybe because I've watched The Matrix too much, I guess perhaps I should have taken the macro and the microeconomics courses that I didn't in college. You know, someone can explain to me, I guess, supply and demand, but a few years ago, you could get these houses pennies on the dollar. Now, all of a sudden, because we have this huge demand and limited supply, the prices of homes go up. And I suppose it's a good problem to have. And if you don't mind paying for more and more levies for more and more schools, then that's a great thing to have. As I said off the air to Dave Petzel, there just doesn't appear to be a plan for the growth. And you see it today. Highway 55 was closed because of a brush fire. Is there any alternate route to getting to McCall? I don't know. Now they're going to start paving. So instead of taking an hour or two, it's going to take hours to go from one place to another because the paving has to be done. And you take a look at the massive amount of 2-lane roads that will eventually be 4 lanes. Look at Eagle Road. It should be expanded even more. Right? Or is it just saying, well, it's not as bad as it was where I used to live? Maybe that's what lawmakers would like. But I'd like to hear from you. I've talked a lot this morning, and I'll continue on whether or not, we can go to the legalization of marijuana at 580-5436. Think it's a bad idea. Always have, always will. Number 2, this idea of structured growth. Coming up, remembering a legend that a lot of people may not know about, but you sure will know his work. First, traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. To the phones, we go to Steve. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, how are you doing? I haven't called in for a while.
Where you been?
But, I've been listening. I just, I haven't really found something I want to talk about. But you did say something, about Highway 55 closing because of brush fires and an alternate route to McCall. There is one. And that's Highway 95. You've just got to go through Weiser and Cambridge and Council. That's the route that nobody takes anymore.
Why don't they?
Because it may be it's an hour longer, but you know what? The Weiser River Canyon is a beautiful drive.
Well, maybe people should do that. It's a little safer, I would imagine.
Yeah, because it's a U.S. highway versus a state highway, and there's guardrails and stuff like that,
Yes, I like guardrails. I don't think that they should be optional. Some people do.
That's very true. And I also wanted to say, I hope Ada County gives that guy the death penalty.
Oh, Timmy Kenner.
Yes.
Well, that should be that hearing should be coming up. And, some people will say, should that be? I don't think that's an issue. I think the prosecutors are first rate in Ada County. I never want to get on the bad side of them, and I think I know they'll do the right thing.
Well, you always hope, but, the one thing is Idaho doesn't have an insanity plea, so if he gets the death penalty, it's going to be the death penalty.
Well, we shall see. Steve, anything else?
No, and I hope, what's her name, gets elected as the new Supreme Court Justice. Amy Barrett?
Amy Barrett. I'm with you on Amy Barrett.
So, yeah. Well, you have a good day, Mr. Miller. Take care. And, I miss talking to you guys. You guys have a good day.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate that. Steve, don't be a stranger. This happened over the weekend. We've got details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. But if you don't have time to read the story, a legendary comic book creator is dead. Let's get the details on 107.5 FM and 580 AM.
Spider-Man and Doctor Strange co-creator Steve Ditko has died of an apparent heart attack in his New York City home. He was 90. Along with Stan Lee, the two created Spider-Man for Marvel Comics, and in 1962, the web-slinger was introduced to the world in an anthology book titled Amazing Fantasy number 15.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can, spins a web.
Ditko was known to be private, rarely taking interviews. He was born in Pennsylvania on November 2nd, 1927. After a fallout with Marvel's Stan Lee, he had gone on to work for other comic book companies, including main competitor DC, where he created multiple other characters. Eamon Dignam, Fox News.
All right, Eamon, thank you very much. Coming up next, a state representative is under attack. We'll give you the details and your reaction. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to our friend Greg Pruitt from the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance and the Second Amendment activist. He's back in Idaho. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, Kevin, man, we are glad to be back, brother. Missed you guys.
Well, we've been following you on social media. It's quite an empire you're building. Tell us a little bit about the social media activist, or the Second Amendment activist. I catch you on social media all the time. I'm thinking you are an activist on social media. But tell us a little bit about your new endeavor, sir.
Yeah, I feel like I live on that thing, man. So I we've had a lot of success here in the state of Idaho in building a great organization with the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, and I wanted to, start, writing online and doing, YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff to try and help other states, replicate some of the stuff that we've been doing here in the state of Idaho. And so I started the Second Amendment activist to, hopefully start getting the word out about confrontational politics and how to fight at your state capitol. And so that's kind of the main goal behind it.
Well, indeed. We certainly want folks to check that out. So in addition to that, you find yourself in this, I don't know if it's a Second Amendment issue, but it certainly is a First Amendment issue involving Representative Priscilla Gillings.
Yeah, she, been at the front of a pretty big controversy that shouldn't be a controversy in the first place. And I think she, the signs that these young women were talking about were attacks on the Second Amendment, and that's probably how I got roped into it. But, you had talked a little bit about her post and her picture. The one thing I didn't hear you mention yet, and maybe you're waiting for me to do this, was that there was a sign, one of the young women was holding a sign that said that the Second Amendment guarantees the right to bear arms, not artillery. And as a veteran myself, I'm an Idaho Army National Guard veteran, 13 years. I kind of started laughing at that sign. I'm like, man, I didn't know we could own artillery. Sign me up. Where do we go? Because we can't. And Priscilla had that same reaction because she, like you mentioned, she's an A-10 veteran, A-10 Warthog veteran, and her post and her picture when she got on there and said, should I show my empty 30-millimeter shell, was to go, okay, maybe I should educate these folks on what, civilian armament is versus military armament. And that was the only thing that she had meant by that. And obviously it turned into like Chelsea Clinton and all sorts of other people chiming in saying that she was threatening these young women with, I guess, an empty 30-millimeter shell. I'm not really sure how that works, Kevin.
Well, the reaction from Chelsea Clinton and others, and then you have people threatening her, which really caused you to promote this town hall article where people across the country are saying and writing things about her that we really can't repeat on the air.
Yeah, there are and have been numerous calls to publicly assassinate her, among other things, like you said, that we can't really mention on the air. If you go to the town hall article, it's all in there, but they actually have 3 voicemails where one woman, for instance, says, if I was there and I had a 12-gauge shotgun, I'd put you down or something like that. I can't remember exactly what she says. I'm just thinking, where's the Idaho media? You're the first one in Idaho that has covered these death threats now, but where's the Idaho media? They all felt it was really important to run with the picture and her words and turn it into a big controversy, which it shouldn't have been. But where are they now? With public calls to assassinate her and other really horrible things, you would think that would be news, Kevin, and so far nobody has ran a story on this issue.
Well, and you point that out. Why do you? They did run the story right when the social media post happened, when people said it was controversial.
Yeah, they had almost every outlet in Idaho that I know of ran with that story and published it, and you know, obviously if you're a conservative, it looks like, full blown blatant bias. And let's be honest here, Representative Giddings is not a fan of the media. The media is probably not a big fan of her, given the fake news awards that they did earlier this year. But journalistic integrity should dictate that no matter who it is, that would be something that you would cover, right? I mean, I thought that's what journalism was all about, but I might be wrong.
Well, we should have her on in a minute, because like you, people sleep in a little these days, and we'll get her thoughts on that. But I mean, until we hear from her, you've gone again and again with the media, and your thoughts on how the media covers things.
Kevin, honestly, after living in Wisconsin and helping the Wisconsin Firearms Coalition get up and running there, and seeing how the media operates in Wisconsin versus Idaho, I got to be honest, Idaho's media is not as bad as it is in some other states. I'm not saying it's great, but compared to what we saw in Wisconsin, man, I got to tell you, it's pretty mild here compared to some of these other states and how these other states treat conservatives. It's not horrible, I mean, our group has had quite a few pretty good articles, fair articles, that were pretty unbiased, and then we've had some that have been pretty awful. But it's just something you have to deal with as a conservative. There's not a lot of good conservative media out there. I don't even want conservative media necessarily. I would like journalists to just be fair and accurate in their reporting. That's all we would ask for. Is that too much, Kevin? Is that too much to ask for? I didn't think it was. But
Good luck with that one. But it is interesting whether or not the people in Idaho, the media, will pick this up. It is a big story when you have a state representative who did nothing wrong is, in fact, threatened by people, and nobody covers it.
Yeah, I'm still just, I guess, flabbergasted that I guess I was the first one to on the show. She came on the Second Amendment activist show, and we talked a lot about it and stuff. And I couldn't believe it, man. I hope that somebody will start covering it. And I hope the police, maybe, I don't know if she's turning all this stuff into the police, but these leftists, as we've seen, at the congressional baseball game and other places, they sometimes mean what they say when they say they're going to take care of it, or we're going to take you down, or you're going down, or, so you can't, a lot of them are probably doing that out of anger. Some of them may be serious. And so she needs to take those threats serious.
You're right. And of course, if the media only covers one side of the story, well, then we only get one side of the story.
Yeah. And God forbid, what if something does happen and these guys have basically been silent the entire time? Well, really frustrating, Kevin. But.
Well, Greg, we've seen that with the rallies you've held at the Capitol, where you've had thousands of people show up and they don't cover it, and 10 people show up, and all of a sudden it's the big story.
Well, not only that, but I think there was one particular station, I'm not going to name them on air, but in 2016, like you mentioned, we had well over 1,000 people that marched, and this particular news station said that we had a couple hundred. And then they literally showed a video of all of us marching down the street. You can tell there's well over 1,000 of us marching down the street. And it's just that kind of stuff that we've dealt with, where they like to underreport how many people show up for our rallies and whatnot. But we're hoping in September to have several thousand there, and we'll see what they say then if we end up with several thousand.
Well, we will see about that. Greg Pruitt, thank you. If people want to get a hold of you, what can they do?
IdahoSAA.org, and they can message me or catch us on Facebook or Twitter or any of that kind of stuff. So we'll be there, and looking forward to having a lot of new members here this year.
Greg, take care. We need to catch up. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. And we've chased her. We've caught her. Representative Priscilla Giddings joining us now. Representative, thank you for joining us. I wish it were under better circumstances.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you. Absolutely. Kind of crazy situation going on.
So you post this innocuous post on social media, having fun with the protesters, and who would have thought that you'd have such a a controversial reaction to it from the media to prominent politicos to the wackos.
Well, yeah, it was definitely unexpected. You said, having fun with the protesters. I really wasn't even considering that. I had actually just given a talk the night before to a whole group of professional business women, and I always show my 30-millimeter casing just to give people an idea of what the 30 millimeter is, and then there's the story behind the A-10, and we have incredible people overseas right now flying the A-10, shooting thousands of rounds so that people can have freedom. I mean, it's literally, we are still in a fight for freedom all over this world, and so when I saw the sign that that the girls wanted to ban artillery, it kind of blew my mind. It's like, can you imagine if we as a country banned artillery? Like, what would that mean? Does that mean get rid of the Army? What is that, And then you have the A-10, and the whole role of the A-10 is these huge rounds that could almost be classified as artillery, but coming from the air that's destroying the artillery of the enemy, so that we can have, the right to protest and have the right to bear arms and to have all those rights. And so I was totally serious when I was thinking, maybe we should talk to these girls about, what is artillery and what would that mean? And we were in a hurry because I was between committees, and so it really was not my intention to poke fun at them at all. It was kind of a serious question, and then the way that it blew up, I just had no idea.
Well, can you take us inside the reaction? Greg Pruitt has been letting us know about this. We've read the townhall.com article. We've been talking about this all morning long. For people that are just tuning in, people have threatened you. They've come after you for this post.
Yeah, it's really been quite unfortunate to hear the backlash. As far as, if you read the article, just some of the nasty things that people have said about me, even about Idaho. Say, because I mentioned a 30-millimeter shell, now they're calling Idaho racist Idaho. And it's so far from the truth, and that part is just frustrating. And then, the threats are, as far as unloading a box of 45 in my head, or where my eyes should be. Just the words that you don't even want to repeat on the air for people. It's just really kind of disappointing, because you really want to think the best of people, and especially now in this political fight that we're in, you want to have a dialogue about the issues. It's the original intent for me was to try to talk to these girls about what is the meaning of artillery and what would that mean for us as a country. And now we've gotten totally off of that, and now people are, trying to, they're almost, I want to call them empty threats. I've had so many friends say, are you okay? Are you getting protection? And had people offer to provide protection, and it's when you're flying in a combat situation and you have people shooting at you, to me that's a real threat. Some of this stuff is just anger, I think, coming out of people, and it's more disappointing in the people that we can't have a real dialogue without trying to threaten one another.
Are you surprised that it was a national publication that brought this up?
Are you talking about Town Hall?
Mm-hmm.
Or
there hasn't really been any local coverage of this.
Yeah, that has been interesting. I did get a few requests, I want to say, from the New York Times and the Washington Post, but they were kind of more on the negative side. They were also kind of hinting that I was this horrible person. As far as locally, I guess I'm hopeful that locally maybe they just didn't think anything of it, and so they dropped it.
Well, Representative Giddings, we appreciate you. We thank you for your service, and we'd love to keep in touch. And congratulations on where you are personally and professionally, ma'am.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate the opportunity to share my side of the story.
Well, you call us anytime and keep catching up on your sleep, ma'am.
Okay, will do. You guys have a great week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, your phone call's next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And we go to Art in Star with Kevin Miller here at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Art.
Good morning, Kevin. It's a nice day on the third rock from the sun.
I would agree.
I want to talk about this marijuana issue, and I'm pulling from information that was made known to me probably 25 years ago regarding destructive characteristics that marijuana has on the human brain cell. So what happens is that when one brain cell talks to another brain cell, it's an oscillating pattern of an electrical signal followed by a chemical package, followed by an electrical signal, followed by a chemical package. That's the way it works. And the transfer of information from one brain cell to the next happens at an area that is called the synaptic cleft. That's the term. You can visualize this synaptic cleft if you take your right hand and make the letter C, like a reverse C, and then you take your left hand and make a small fist, and you insert that fist inside this reverse C, but don't allow your hands to touch. So there's a little gap there, and that's where these chemicals flow across. When you take marijuana, it has a tendency to block a certain receptor. It's called the cannabinoid receptor. And marijuana is a mimic for one of these neurotransmitters. In other words, it's not the same. Now, the effect and the way the brain cell reacts is that it will begin to generate a new synaptic cleft. So you end up with a type of brain cell connection that's called a hydra head. It's like two-headed monster. The problem is the second hydra head acts as a capturing device.
Okay.
So it starts to hold all the neurotransmitters like in a bag. The end result is your IQ starts to slowly drop over time. And you will never, ever recover from this because this secondary head is permanent. Doesn't cause brain cancer or anything like that. It just makes you incredibly stupid. But the primary thing that is really, really why you shouldn't have this is that people who are taking marijuana have a slower reaction time. And the media is not talking about the fact that where marijuana is allowed, traffic accidents go up dramatically. So it's dangerous. I think that if any legislature attempts to pass that, they should be sued in their personal capacity or writing a bill of attainder upon them for an act of war against the people of this country, because it is a treasonous act. And it needs to be stamped out completely and totally without any mercy whatsoever. So that's my view, and it's based upon the scientific research from around 1995 as to what the effect that this, what I guess they call it weed, has on the brain. It takes time. It takes a little time. I mean, these little dual-headed hydras don't form overnight. But continued use of this reduces the brain to basically you're an imbecile after a number of years.
Art, thank you. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Well, have a nice day. I was going to talk about some other things, but...
there's always tomorrow.
Yeah, there's always tomorrow, okay? In the end, the good guys win. And tell that lady who flies A-10 Warthogs, I'm happy that she does. We need that weapon. I hope they build 1,000 more of them. And we need to take the fight to the enemy because I'm tired of the rest of the planet Earth attacking us. It's now time for us to go on the counterattack.
Art, God bless. Take care.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Traffic and weather together at KIDO Talk Radio. Oh, the timing caught up with him. We've only got 10 seconds left.
I only have a few minutes.
No, you have 10 seconds.
Yeah, well, you know what?
You need to call
I'm not
earlier.
going to talk about it because I think you're absolutely ridiculous.
No, we're talking about marijuana. Hello?